Hello, my name is Olivier Langlois, and on behalf of the Federal Youth Network, I would like to welcome you to our virtual learning series. I would like to begin by acknowledging that I'm here on the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people, and I encourage all of you to acknowledge the land you are on as well. As we move through today's session, please share your comments in the chat space and questions by using the Q&A button in the language of your choice. You can vote for the questions you like by clicking on the thumbs up button. Please note that this session will also take place in French on another link at 2:30 p.m. Veuillez noter que cette session prendra place en français à partir d'un autre lien à 14h30. This is the third event of the Get to Know Your Team series, during which we will explore ways to engage individuals and create stronger, healthier teams using a variety of tools. Today, we will take a dive into virtual games and team cohesions. As someone who loves playing games, I cannot wait to hear this one. Without further ado, I will pass off the mic to Julia, who will be our amazing moderator for today. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Olivier. Hi, everyone. My name's Julia, and I'll be the moderator today. Before we get started, we have a couple of quick polling questions. It's not a test, it's not mandatory, and responses are anonymous. So the first question we have here is, during the pandemic, did you feel disconnected from your colleagues? Yes, somewhat. No, I took the initiative to connect with my colleagues. No, my manager facilitated connections. The second question is, in this hybrid reality, is your team hosting inclusive social events to create rapport between individuals? Yes, we have fun with colleagues from all over Canada. Somewhat, our activities are only in person. No, or unsure. We'll give you a moment to respond to those questions, and then we'll see the results. All right, so for the first question, during the pandemic, did you feel disconnected from your colleagues? Majority said no, I took the initiative to connect with my colleagues. And then there's a pretty even split between yes and somewhat. So we're all across the board here, which is completely fair. Our second question, in this hybrid reality, is your team hosting inclusive social events to create rapport between individuals? The majority say no. And then the second is unsure. So we are going to learn today of how to create some inclusive events using virtual games. So thank you so much for participating. I'll just quickly go over the objectives. So after today's session, you'll be able to explain the importance of team cohesion in a hybrid environment, articulate the value of fun in the workplace, and locate tools to engage in team activities, no matter where your team is geographically located. So hopefully by the end of this session, you'll be able to say, yes, my team hosts inclusive team bonding activities. Now I have the pleasure of welcoming our two highly experienced panelists, Rob Butler and Roy Nader. Rob has worked in several outreach roles over the past 4 years. He currently works in engagement and outreach in the area of digital transformation and co-leads informative, interactive events under the umbrella of benefits delivery modernization. Notably, Rob built a Twitter to engage and connect civil servants and continues to co-lead discussions through the Leaders GC on topics that help link senior leaders with public servants at all levels. Roy is also experienced in the area of digital transformation, occupying managerial roles in change management and engagement, and more recently, leading a digital workplace task force. While working in the government over the past 18 years, he recognized the need for digital upskilling among government employees. That's why he created Clicks and Tips, a bilingual community of practice that grew to over 13,000 members across 93 Canadian departments. I think it's safe to say we're in good hands today, folks. So let's get straight to it. Rob, Roy, over to you both.
Oh, the pressure's on, Roy. We are live in person. And by the way, I think that's an old bio. I've actually moved to TBS. I'm in digital credentials right now as a free agent, but that's cool. Roy. Oh, wow. Roy, you're on mute. Yeah. So this is the cool thing.
That's what you should not be doing. I'm just demonstrating what you should not be doing when you're a panelist.
You owe me $10 for that, Roy. Every time,
It keeps going up with you, Rob. I can't keep up. So, Rob, we're here today to talk about some of the ways we're able to create team bonding, bring the team together. What are one of the favorite ways you have found that works very well?
Well, first, remember we have a script that we were supposed to follow. So, shall we go with the script first? We were supposed to go straight into the question, the icebreaker.
You're the one who said I'm going to be jumping around the same time. All right.
Okay, fair enough. Let's do the icebreaker. Everyone's got access to the chat, and first we want to know where's everybody joining from. So we want you to go into the chat right now and tell us where you're joining from right now. I'm in Ottawa. I'm in Orleans. Roy, where are you?
I'm actually in Vancouver, Burnaby City, but most people will know Vancouver is just close by. That's in British Columbia. And Rob, do you know what BC stands for?
No, I don't.
It's reality, it stands for British Columbia, but we like to refer it as bring cash and lots of it.
Yeah, no kidding. Last time I was in Vancouver, it was super expensive. I see we got Toronto, Winnipeg, Vancouver, Canada. No problem. If you live in Ottawa, Canada from Orleans is about 3.5 hours during traffic when the LRT is not working. Halifax, thanks for joining. I know it's pretty crazy out there at the moment. I hope that you're all safe, Sarah.
We got Megan from Windsor. Hey, Megan, how you doing?
We got Carp, Ontario representing. Hey, Sarah Mayo.
Adriana
wow, lots
from
of
Montreal. Hey, Adriana. Montréal, c'est ma ville. J'aime beaucoup.
And Rebecca agrees. Rebecca says bring cash. Rebecca, I don't know where you're from. Put it in the chat where you're from. I'd love to hear where you're from. But yeah, that's cool. Lots of people from joining across the country. That's what I love about Zoom and MS Teams. We can get everyone together. We can chat. It doesn't matter where you are. I think we have another question, Roy.
I've got Rebecca from Vancouver, Burnaby. That's excellent. In fire area. Oh, I'm so sorry for you, Patricia. I hope you and your family are doing well.
Yeah, I hope everything's safe there.
So the next question is, what city are you, we did that one. Are you working from home or at the office?
Well, I mean, clearly, as you can see, I'm working from home right now. This is my home office. Should I show them really quick, Roy? I'll show them a little tour of my home office.
I'd love to. You don't have an office. You can't call it an office. It's a command center, I like to call it. Check Rob's, please.
Well, as they're responding here, this is what I'm looking at on the screen right now. And this is our call. And back over here, because I like to DJ from time to time.
See, by the way.
Well, we could play that game, and then over here is the corporate computer where we're all setting on all day long. So that's really it. So I just wanted to show you my home. So I'm working from home.
We did that exercise once in my team. We all showed our offices and we had fun actually, just to be able to, you felt you're joining each other's home, and we were able to get a tour about the house. One of the people that we have in our team right now lives in a boathouse. And he gave us a tour, and he doesn't have a garage. He doesn't have a car, by the way, Rob. Guess what he has?
What does he have?
A boat besides a boathouse.
Wait, is he working on the boat?
It's a boathouse. It's a house on a boat, on a platform, and he actually has a beautiful view of the water. So it's kind of nice.
Man, sign me up on that. Now I know we're gonna get the time. They're gonna call us on time, so we should probably get to the next question in the chat.
We've got 50-50 I've seen from home and from the office, but I also have seen some people in the office in the morning, but that actually came to home after. Something from New Orleans. Why so many screens, Rob? That's one of the questions that Liquan has.
The more screens, the better. The more screens, the better, and how we can create games. But I know I love screens. Got to watch my news. Shall we get to the next question and get right into it? All right, Roy, this is your question.
Okay. One thing we didn't cover is when you're talking about are you working from home or the office, one of the ways that we can bridge that is when you're at home. I like to use Microsoft Teams and use some personal chats. And I think it's one of the ones that you commented on, Rob, when I put in a quick message to you.
Yeah, so I actually remember this, but we'll get into the games in a second. But I remember one of these really simple things is that Roy sent me a message. Hey, Rob, I'm right by your desk. And of course, I looked up and I'm like, Roy's not here. What's going on? And it was like the same way you would do it if you were in person. Roy.
So one of the things I've noticed is you can use the chat and make it personal. Instead of saying, hey, can we talk, or call somebody directly, it's nicer if you give a visual representation as if you're coming to the person. And one of the things I've done, a sentence that I've used, Rob, is I used to say, hey, I'm coming by your desk to say hi. Do you have a moment to chat?
And Roy, you got a funny story about that.
I do, and I got in trouble, Rob, for it. So, we've been working from home for so long, and I kept saying this sentence, hey, I'm passing by your desk just to say hello. Do you have a moment to chat? And I got a senior executives who told me, you made me turn around, and I looked, I thought you're in the office in Ottawa, but I know you're in Vancouver. Then it hit me. We started to work hybrid, and some people are in the office. So I had to add a word which says, hey, I'm passing virtually by your desk. Just to say hello and you want to have a chat. So it actually, people like it. I've found it connects you more with the people. Little sentence goes a long way when you make it personal. Let me know, guys, if you like that in the chat or not. There's so many different ways.
Give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up if you've ever done that before too. So we get into some of the questions and maybe come back to this. So we get back. Can we get Julia back on there online here and maybe get into some of the questions in, and then we'll come back to these other two experimental ones.
That's a great idea. I'm just curious if you can tell our audience who, may not see the value in dedicating time for team bonding, why it is so important, especially in this new hybrid reality.
So,
Roy, do you want to go first?
Yeah, go ahead, Rob.
No, Roy, you go first. It's all good.
Why is team bonding important? Honestly, today we talk about safe space to connect. We talk about brainstorming new ways of working, being innovative. If we don't have that safe space, it's hard for people to come up with the oddest idea that might lead to another better idea. And in order to have that safe space, we got to be comfortable with each other, get to know each other, comfort zone, and so on. And that's where I found activities, team bonding, and different ways to connect the team together is super important. Not only that, it gives you a purpose and a sense of belonging as a team member when you actually get to know your team a lot more. And I'm going to pass it to Rob. I'm sure you have other ideas to add to it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I love these interpersonal connections, especially ones that you have to make virtually. And I would do that in person if I was around. The example of you just dropping by my instant message saying, hey, Rob, how's your day going? And then we end up in a 10-minute conversation about nothing. I mean, I had colleagues that I didn't even know where they were working from. Like I'm looking at the list here. We've got Vancouver, BC, Toronto, Windsor. If you folks were all my colleagues, I just learned that about you, and there's that's really cool, and it's also really important for when times get tough. Sometimes there are deliverables. Sometimes things can be taken out of context in emails. Those little small interrelationships when I've met Roy and I've had this conversation with Roy. He sends me back a quick message and then an email that's a little short, but if I didn't actually know his personality, it may come off incorrect. And that's what I love about getting to know the person.
And it doesn't have to be a huge exercise, and will have resistors in the team, Julia. But what you have to do is build small wins over time. And what's important is that you put a little thought into it, and based on your team that you have, and you repeat it over time, that people want to look forward to have more fun like this. So basically, those who were resisting in the beginning can see value in what's happening, and you'll find over time they will contribute. Let's do a couple of examples, Julia, to demonstrate what we're talking about. So as a manager, one of the things that I would do, like once a month on Wednesday, I will put in a question in the chat and get the team kind of to interact. And you'll find, we're going to do a couple of exercises, and you'll see how these interactions has helped my team actually to bond together and start brainstorming innovative ideas. So I've got my first question over here, and I'm going to ask it to the participants, and I'm going to ask Rob as an example to answer the question. So participants, give me thumbs up in the chat if you're ready for the question.
Yeah, where are you guys? Let me see you. Where are you folks? Big
thumbs up. All right, thank you for the thumbs up.
Natalie's ready.
That's great. So the question is, if money is not an object, you've got all the monies that you want, which car would you buy and why? And put a picture in the chat if that's something that's really unique. Would love to see the pictures. So if money is not an object, which car would you buy and why?
And if you can't put a picture, you can just type it in too.
Absolutely. Thanks, Elizabeth and Samantha, for confirming. So I'm going to go to Rob while you guys are thinking about the car that you love. It's not enough to say which electric car. I would like to, excuse me, I'd like to know which electric car would you buy and why. So Rebecca, why would you buy a specific red Mustang convertible? What does it mean to you to buy this car? Jan, why is it G-Wagon? I would love to know that. So I'm going to go to Rob, and I'm curious to know what Rob, I don't know about you, Julia. Do you want to know what Rob would buy? Yeah, one
Something
ticket.
Yeah, Julia.
fast and shiny, I think.
Fast and shiny. Oh my
Yeah.
God, that's probably no Rob.
I knew it.
What would you buy?
I would buy the Tesla Model X, obviously. Why? Because it goes to 0 to 100 in 2.5 seconds. Not that I need to go any faster than 100. And quick story, they actually had a cap when I did the test drive for it at 137 kilometers per hour, and you will be at 137 kilometers per hour faster than you think by mistake. I wasn't even off the on ramp. And yes, it's shiny, it's full of buttons, and it pulls stuff.
And you know
and
what?
it's got bed.
What you described over here, Rob, is not the car. You actually described your personality, what you like, and what you look for. So when you look at a
Fair
Tesla,
enough.
you like something that is shiny. You like electronic and gadget. You like the fact that you can go faster from A to B, not because you're racing, because you want the independency of being able to get stuff done and move on to the next shiny stuff as well.
Well, hold up. Also, my friends love to go camping, and I don't think that once you get to a certain point in your life, I don't want to go sleep in a hot tent. They have bed mode, so we can go camping, and you can have tent, and you have you can stay in your car, and it's got AC, so that's one of the reasons too. Check out the chat there, Roy.
There's so much
See,
going on. Look at that.
Yeah.
Mercedes 12 passenger van. You know what? That's somebody who's sociable, who like to take all their people with him, or they might be looking at camping or something else. They want something for versatile as much as possible. They're not looking for, like the high-end cars. They're looking for functionality, family. They're looking for the sociability aspect of it. So you'd be surprised what people have chosen as car. And if you can put pictures, it's even better. We've seen people with the oddest thing. I got Reda, who's looking for Toyota Corolla, which are known to be a good, reliable car that takes you from A to B. They're functional. They're great cars. They're give you that safety, that comfort, that security.
You love your Toyotas.
Yeah, bring me from point A to B. That tells me how Reda makes her decisions.
Now, check this out, Roy. Brenda Hamilton wants a coach and a motorhome to travel all over North America. So I'm going to guess, Brenda, that you love to travel and experience things. I don't know if you're a foodie, but if you're a foodie, you got to come to Ottawa, and I got some places to show you. So
sounds like she's a little more adventurous and risk taker. So if I have a special project, I will know who can I want to think about as well. F-150 nice. Big truck. Oh yeah, so versatile. Get things done, safe, fun. They are. So that's one of the things that I've done with my team that allow me. It's a simple thing. Wednesdays, I ask that question, and I comment back. Ooh, I see how this car is classic, is classy, for example. It's safe. It's this. It tells me a lot about you and how you've been making decisions on the team. It's and kind of bring that spotlight back on the person. And people love that because their personality is being put in a positive way and emphasized. You want to keep the positive way when you describe the car, and they love it. And more other people will start adding to the conversation. And that helps us to know each other a little more, just with that simple question. Are we ready for the second question?
Well, I think Julia wants to go to the next thing, and then we'll go to the second question after. How's that? Shall we?
Well, I just think that's such a great icebreaker. Like you said, so easy and simple to just pop a question in the chat and from somebody's answer, learn more about them as a person. We can, engage in those kind of social, personable activities, even at work. So that was a great example. So we talked a little bit about how to kind of engage with your colleagues remotely using MS Teams chats or Zoom chats. But what are like a few of your favorite tools or other platforms that you use for team bonding? Maybe, outside of the regular work related applications like MS Teams that's now become so huge.
The one that I learned was actually from Rob. It's Kumo Space, and you can custom make your environment if you want. You can choose environment that's already available. It is limited to a certain amount of people. But what's nice about it, and thank you, Rob, for showing how it could look like. So you can choose something where people are walking around and there's desks, there are cubicles. You can have a hybrid place where you're working and people can physically or virtually come and visit you. We've done it for social event where you're sitting at a pool or something like this, and people can walk around and talk to different people. So there's no breakout rooms, but it's created when two people connect. So you as a user are driving the breakout room and other people can join you at the same time. So the background that you choose will dictate the environment, professional or fun or easygoing. And you have to remember, you can do protected V information. This is definitely for fun. It has to be unclassified information. That's the most important part. Be off VPN if you're actually in a certain place that allows it. But I found that tool helps a lot. I also found Microsoft Forms. It has a quiz mode. It had different things, and how we use it can also go a long way. One of the way I've used it as a manager, just ask the team, how are you feeling today? And what the answer would be, I definitely need the coffee right now. I am overwhelmed and I'm looking for the SOS button. So make it fun as much as possible. I'm full of energy and like I'm excited about the work we're doing. So you get like different options that people can choose from and get a quick feel about where the team is and how we're handling the workload right now. Rob, what about you? What do you have?
By the way, as we're answering our favorite places, if you found some stuff, folks, pop it in the chat. We can chat about that. I mean, you've all seen this. This is the administrator view, of course, but you've all kind of seen the Slido and how you can interact with post people. You can create word clouds and question and answers. And maybe you've seen Mentimeter, which is another platform that some of us have access to, and that's great. You can create virtual games, trivia questions, yes or no's. So you can have like a trivia question, and people can answer, who they think it is or what it is, and you can set that up ahead of time. And then this is a little bit different that I want to use for the GCWCC. It's called Goose Chase.
Yes.
Goose Chase, you can get an educator basic version, and I love this one. Why? I'll tell you why. Because it is an opportunity where you can go around and you like a treasure hunt, and you can use your cell phone. And if it asks you to take a picture of an apple, you take a picture of an apple, and you can play in teams, right? And then it's like a news feed comes in, and then it'll tell you what team is getting, what team is scoring higher, et cetera, et cetera. And you can create these things from scratch. But I think one of the things that I really wanted to say, there's lots of tools and platforms from team bonding, and like some of those you may not have access to. But I think Roy and I both agree the key to team bonding and platforms in a virtual world really is moderation. Moderation is the key to having a good event. Getting people involved, like asking them to go in the chat, talking about themselves. This is like the most important thing. Roy, do you have anything to add to that?
I love the fact you said moderation, because that's a make or break. You bring somebody who doesn't have that positive energy, who can jump in and who can actually prep it ahead of time. If you want to start doing this on your team, I can't stress enough that you need allies before you start doing it. So before you start, just prioritize it on the team, speak to your colleagues, 2 or 3 people that will start contributing with you towards that positive build-up you're trying to do. So when you want to launch it, they know what you're going to launch, they actually can contribute, and you'll have a positive experience the first time, and you can build on it over and over time. Rob, you're absolutely right about moderation. You can bring any tool. If you don't have the proper moderation, you're not going to have as much fun.
And you can have fun. Like we had this PowerPoint where we took pictures of baby pictures of everybody in the branch, and we had to guess who they were, and it was really funny. Or we had a trivia where someone said a paragraph of who it was, and my little paragraph was that I got arrested in Saudi Arabia when I was 5 years old. No, not arrested isn't a bad thing. I was playing in front of the garbage dump in front of the ambassador's house when I was a child. Because I was very adventurous at 5 years old at 4 o'clock in the morning, and the Saudi Arabian police picked me up. These are the kinds of stories that you don't know about your colleagues, and you're probably going, why did Rob get invited to this event? I don't know. But seriously, these are the kinds of stories that you learn about people, and I think that's fascinating. I think, Roy, you must agree on that.
Totally. You know what? I've seen one of the best tools that have been used, honestly, Julia, was just a group chat. And what they have done, they divided the team into, you divide the team into different colors and you give them a different backgrounds. So if it's orange color, you're in the orange team, you get an orange background, and you have to have a animal scream. So whoever screams the loudest, the first person will jump in, and you have to answer the questions from baby picture, geography, or different things, Jeopardy. And it was so well animated that we all enjoyed it. It wasn't complex, and that's the important part. Keep it simple. I know we're looking for
one
tools,
last thing,
but the more complex it is, the more time you're taking to explain it, and the less time you have to play. That's the important part.
And one very last thing, Roy, was the other one that I really loved when we did an international call. We had 3 people come in from different parts of the world. One was in France, and it was basically they just took their cell phone and they took the call on their cell phone from the Christmas market, and they took us on a journey through the Christmas market for a second. And we asked everyone in on the call what they would like to do. Would they want to buy this or buy that? And that was part of the experience. And that was a very cheap experience. And it took me from my seat to France. That's it.
Those are all really fabulous ideas.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, those are all really fabulous ideas. Even my team once, we just did like 2 truths and a lie, kind of going to Rob was saying about the stories. And it's just an easy, great way to learn a little bit more about your colleagues. And it's fun because you can be creative with it, with the lie. And we've also done scavenger hunts. So that goose chase platform that you mentioned, I've never heard of. That just made me so excited because that's, I think, a way more interactive way to do kind of an online scavenger hunt with your team. So learning a lot right now. Did you want to do your other icebreaker question?
Absolutely. So the question that I'm going to ask you right now, and that's, I want you to think about it before you quick and jump and answer. So at this time, I'm going to ask you to also answer in the chat. So take a moment, put your answer in the chat. The question is, if you have a free ticket to Mars, would you go? Let me know in the chat. And if you have any questions, let me know.
How long is the flight?
That's a good question, Julia. Very good question. The flight right now is 8 months to go to Mars and 8 months to come back. However, they're trying to cut it down to 4 months. One way.
And meals included? Are meals included on this trip? I just want to make sure because I know when you fly a lot lately.
You get broke by the time you come back. So yes, meals will be included, all inclusive round trip ticket to Mars. Too much uncertainty from Kali. What other question would you have?
Oh my, I'm just like looking here. Look at all these.
Can you
Some
bring
people
someone?
say no way.
Can you bring someone with you? And if you are going to bring someone, who would it be, Julia?
Well, I'm just seeing in the chat, a lot of people are saying, they'll miss their kids. They'll miss their family. So I'd probably bring my mom, but I don't know. She doesn't really like heights.
And a pet. How about this?
I can bring a pet?
You can bring a pet.
Okay, that'll work. Need some companionship.
All right. All good questions.
I'm having so much fun reading the comments here. Like someone wants to bring a +1. NASA's been working on this. No, I wouldn't miss my kids for 16 months of my kid's life. That's so awesome. I love these guys.
Kali's asking, would it be boring there? Rob had a question last time about it. Can I actually view Netflix when I'm there? And we came down to no, because the speed of the internet would be too slow, Kali. But he came up with the idea of downloading all the items before you get to traveling. So you can bring with you activities. There will be some fun team bonding while you're actually on the ship because there'll be other people. Would that help you to make that decision?
I mean, I would totally go on this trip. It would be fantastic. I just don't know if I could spend 18 months in space without Netflix. There'd be lots of problems with that.
So
Rob would take Netflix over people.
No, I take the people too.
The idea behind the question is not just to have a team bonding and look at the comfort level of, if you're an adventurous or not, but mostly to bring the team together in a safe zone to start asking tough questions. And that's the idea. This is where you ask, well, how long is the trip? And somebody else will say, ooh, that's a good question. I should have thought about it before. And then somebody else want to ask a question and so on. And that gets the team to the habit of asking those critical questions. So when you're working on a project that's important, you already have trained the team on it's okay to ask questions, and we want those questions because it changes the outcome. So not only we're having fun, but we're also creating a safe zone to be able to work together with analytical thinking involved. So something to think about when you bring in some activities. It could have a second objective.
Yeah, you're really firming up the first question that I ask of like, what is the value of team bonding, right? There's so many different facets of it. It can create, increase productivity in terms of work, but you also just have fun. Like, going into work doesn't have to be boring and stuffy, right? You want to get to know your team members. So one question I'll follow up with is, for whatever reason, maybe there's somebody on the team who just doesn't really engage with activities. How do you handle those situations? You want them to feel a sense of belonging, you want them to be included, but they're just not really engaging with the online activities.
I mean, one-on-one is how I would do it. I mean, most people are that I've met that are not fully engaged in those type of activities. My wife's an introvert, where I'm an extreme extrovert. I think people would describe me as, and she prefers the one-on-one interaction. So just you can see who is an extrovert, who is an introvert, and nobody is lesser of a person regardless whether they identify in that area. It's just a matter of different communication style and comfortability, and that's where the one-on-one cooler chats that we talked about, Roy and I chat about. I'm by your desk. How are you doing today? That's how I would get involved with that person.
I personally like what Adriana said. We just send them to the Mars. We get them the free ticket.
No, that's not nice.
But in reality, I'll take what Rob said. You know what? That one-on-one conversation is important. There must be a reason why they don't want to get involved. And you got to respect that at the end of the day. You're going to have a positive experience. It's all about adoption. The more people you have on the team coming together and building a team bonding, the more it creates a synergy in the group that will attract other people to come to it. So don't spend 90% of your energy trying to get the people that are not on board. Spend 90% of your energy trying to get those who are coming to keep coming and telling others to come with them. That would be my advice to them.
I'm glad I asked that question because I'm looking at the questions from the audience, and there was a couple that were along those lines. And maybe it is just like the type of activity, maybe switch up the activity, try different ones, and that or time as well. Time I've noticed for our team, and someone did ask as well in the audience, how do you get your team to engage when they're so busy with work all the time? I don't know if that's another one you want to speak to, but I think blocking off time is important.
I mean, I block off time.
Watch what happened here. Like in the beginning, when we started asking people to put stuff in the chat, we had a lot of introverts. Like Amanda, she mentioned I'm introvert. So we got a few thumbs up in the beginning. But then as we progressed, we kept doing this. We kept it simple. It started flowing. So you got to start thinking progression, ease of the challenges you're doing. So it's simple to start to create that movement and break the ice. That'll be my thing on it, Rob.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. I'll be honest with you. I'm not used to doing a webinar. I prefer the meetings where I can say, "Hey, Amanda, if you're comfortable, even though you said you weren't necessarily comfortable in the beginning, come on camera and tell me what you want to talk about." Again, that's with moderation, creating that safe space and bringing people in after they've had that moment, and like. In this environment, you're being welcomed into my house. Like this is my house. This is the basement of my Orleans house. Over there's probably 2 cats normally looking for the treats that are on my desk. It's really important to remember that you're coming into this little box that's my house. This is my space, and you're welcome. And a video call, whether it's at the work or at the office, it should be as comfortable as sitting at the kitchen table. Roy, please add to that.
Adriana was saying that I like her how she put it together. That social activities is like an insurance. You do not go broke by investing in little, but you cannot afford not to have it. You just add a bit of pizzazz into the team. But the last thing you want is approach somebody on your team member only when you need their help. That helps you to break the ice ahead of time, build that bridge, connect them, and know each other's strength, and you can work with it as well.
And I like to do the other thing. I like to go, how can I help? If I know someone's having a day, like what can I do? Like how can I help you get what you need to get done? That builds trust and friendships too.
Absolutely. And that might, if there are more introverted people that maybe are not comfortable asking for help, you offering that, it opens a door, right?
Yep.
Exactly.
Are you happy to turn to a couple more questions from our audience?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sure.
Okay. Is there a community of practice for events or team building activities?
Ooh,
I know a hidden gem that always have stuff in their backpack, and it's the admin assistants. So if you have a community of practice, or if you have a admin assistant, they usually they love to organize events like this. They probably have a section in OneNote somewhere. I'm more than happy to share it with you. They're amazing at the work they do and how much they care at bringing people together.
I second that. Snaps, if that's a thing.
I third that. Our admin teams they're so creative. They do. Yeah. They have you typically, at least in my experience. So I agree there. How can students lead team building initiatives for team cohesion when they are brand new or relatively new to their office or workplace? That's a great question.
Ooh, well, I mean, when I was new, go ahead, Roy. Go.
I was going to say, if you're a student, I thought we can learn from you. Think of all the activities you've done when you went to school, the onboarding they did. If you were in Scout, if you're in communities, and you have seen some activities that happen, bring that experience you have with you. Don't discount it. Otherwise, join the Federal Youth Network. I mean, you're always up to something. You're doing some activities. You're doing different things, and you can learn from that. Rob also, when he does events, you can attend those, and you'll see the different activities he's doing, or when I'm doing something also, there's always activity embedded. Take close attention to those. What's yours, Rob?
Well, I mean, how do we get involved? Like I joined GC's WCC. I'm actually going to be DJing because I used to DJ. I'm going to be DJing the 90 Elgin Olympics downstairs. While we're doing the Olympics, I'm going to do some emceeing there. So like, I love getting involved with people's projects. Find out who's working on what, and in the team, just get involved with things.
Yeah, the National Public Service Week that's coming up also. It's another place where a lot of activities are happening. It's a good place to volunteer and help and learn.
I found myself volunteering, and I ended up emceeing the 150th on Parliament Hill at the hockey rink. Like, these are just great ways to get to know people, and it's really good for your career.
Love it.
Just to be out there and having fun and enjoying. I think Olivier is there too, by the way. Should bring Olivier into this. Olivier's been teching this call. Randomly going to bring Olivier up because I promised that we would do this. Hi, Olivier.
He's thinking, what am I in for here?
What are you going to ask me now?
Well, I mean, this is it. Behind every good event, there's an Olivier behind it, making sure that everything runs well. So for your hybrid team working, make sure that you've got someone like Olivier, keeping everything running.
That was easy.
So
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Kudos to Olivier, 100%. Snaps.
No, it sounds like you're saying if somebody has an idea, someone who wants to lead, go lead it. Share that idea. Talk to your manager. Talk to your director. Put those ideas out there. Like, you need people to test the waters with new activities, and there's probably a lot of people that want to do it. They just don't necessarily know how, and I think it maybe is just as simple as speaking with your manager to how setting time aside to create an event, or like going back to your said, just put a question in the chat. Like, I know sometimes for our teams, it's a bit of a ghost town in our MS Teams chat, and you kind of makes you a little intimidated to say something. But once you do, the conversation just goes. Yeah. It rolls, right?
100%. Yeah.
What about, do you have something else? Sorry.
No, go ahead. It's all good.
Do you find that technology, though, limits participation of some team members at all? I think we've all experienced connection issues, over the past couple years.
Well, I'm going to talk about accessibility for a second. One of my previous roles was in the Deputy Minister's Office of Public Service Accessibility, and we have to be mindful and of that. There are folks who may have visual impairments or audio impairments. And something I forgot to do in the beginning was using accessible language. So in the context of official, and I should have done this, is I should have described myself when I introduced myself. And it sounds odd in the beginning, but if you were to close your eyes and I would say, "Hi, my name is Rob. I'm an Asian male with 2 white AirPods in my ears. My hair is a little bit, little tiny bit shorter, high forehead. I got about 3,000 video screens behind me with a red and yellow light, and I'm wearing a gray shirt." Well, now you know who you're looking at, right?
Mm.
So accessible language is important. So like we did talk about all these fun games. We did talk about, there may be pictures of babies. Who is this person? That may not be a fully inclusive game because they can't see it. However, if you have a description where you say, "This is this baby," the example that I used earlier, saying Rob Butler or Roy, who lives, this person lives in Vancouver. I'm making stuff up now. He loves French fries, et cetera, and he's got a big sailboat. Guess who this person is? That is a description. And that includes folks that can't necessarily see those photos. So that's a perfect example. Accessibility is something that's quite important to make sure they bring them on. Anything else, Roy?
I think, Rob, what's important is that don't be afraid to engage your team in the process, and that helps you to get buy-in. And what I mean by that, if we're trying to do team bonding and it's important, start with a conversation in a team meeting and ask, is it something you're interested in? If the answer is yes, use voting button to say, how often would you like to have it? And then use another voting button to say, what method would you like us to engage in, and give different examples. If you're all in the same city, well, an option, it could be, we can go and have a lunch together. If you're not in the same city, so you gotta be creative and find what works for the team. Now, Rob mentioned something important, is you gotta be accessible and inclusive. The best exercise is the one that works for your team the best. And you don't know the answer until you start asking questions and you start getting people tell you, well, that situation does not work for me. So you either find a solution for that situation to make the exercise work, or you move on to something else that is easier. But the most importantly is engage your team to be to get the buy-in that you need, and ask them those questions. Don't be afraid. Everybody wants to have fun at work, but we want to make sure that everybody's included as you're having fun. That's the important part.
That's a culture piece that Roy is talking about versus, culture and technology. Culture is very important in making sure that safe space is there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for that. Especially with National Accessibility Week coming up. I'm thinking you could even make an engagement activity out of describing yourself. Everyone logs on an MS Team call with their cameras off, and and then you turn it on and you're like, is that how you pictured me today? In my green and white polka dot top? And then it gets you also,
that's a great idea.
Right? I don't know. You inspired that for me. So thank you. And it gets people thinking more about accessibility as well. Just looking at the chat here, I've seen a lot of Kahoot as well. Are you both familiar with that platform? Is that a popular one?
I think we both are in favor of Mentimeter quiz because it has the
Can you
music.
Explain that a bit?
Well, Mentimeter. Well, Mentimeter is just another one of the platforms. Kahoot's great because you can create. It's easier for creating trivia and stuff like that. But I use this particular product mainly because it was cheaper to buy with my student license. And it's quite well known. And it has all sorts of design feature templates. I don't know. Why do you like Roy? Why do you like Mentimeter? I don't actually.
When you put the quiz, when people are actually, it shows you the at the end. You've got a place where it actually shows you who's the winner, and it has like a nice animation to keep showing you who's winning and who's on the top. And you can ask several questions in sequence, so you can see who's going to be on the top at the end.
Yeah, it does.
The
leaderboard.
Leaderboard.
There it is. Where is it?
We don't have a lot of time, so let's pass it back to Julia.
Yeah, thanks. So that's a new one for me. And you mentioned so many cool new, at least for me, tools and platforms, which will be available. Finn will link those on their page but I hate to say it. We had such a great conversation, and now we're out of time. So thank you both so much for sharing your knowledge. I know I certainly learned a lot, and I'll review this recording when I plan future team bonding activities. As mentioned, if anyone wants to learn more about any of these topics, check out the Fin Wiki resource page. We'll have links to all the platforms that Roy and Rob mentioned, policies and future learning opportunities. So now I will hand it back to Olivier. Snaps to Olivier, snaps to Roy and Rob. Thanks, everyone.
And snaps to you, Julia, too. That was amazing. Before you go, everyone, we have one last feedback poll to launch. We will not share the results. It's just for us internally. So was the session a good use of your time? Yes, no, or unsure? And finally, if you love this session so much and would like to see it again in French, please note that it will also be available in French on another link at 2:30 p.m., so in 15 minutes. Veuillez noter que cette session prendra place en français à partir d'un autre lien à 2h30. As Julia said, we have all the resources on Wiki page, and the recording of this event will be available on our YouTube channel. Wish you all the best and have a good rest of your day, everyone.